Hello, YouTube land. This is Brenton Sawin coming to you from Lexington, Kentucky, the Bluegrass State. Today, I have the most intense story on Bigfoot that I've ever heard. You do not want to miss this story. This person's name is Tina, and she is going to tell you something that is so beyond anything I've ever heard. It's just going to be incredible. I'm telling you that much. If anyone out there has a story or an encounter with Bigfoot, Dogman, or any mysterious cryptid, any good mystery type story, supernatural, paranormal, anything that you think would make a good show, you can contact me at brentonson@gmail.com. Let's just go to our guest.
The government doesn't care. These things are mean. You know?
Right.
I mean...
Yeah. They're very, I think that they're very dangerous. I think they're aggressive.
Yes.
They can be aggressive.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And the thing is, people give them such passes, the flute players, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
Well, let me just say something. If a man was peeping through your window, stealing your animals' sweet feed, killing your dogs, you wouldn't give them a pass.
No.
So why would you think that this should be given a pass?
Right.
This doesn't need protection.
No.
These things do not need protection. And the only two things I think they're motivated by is food and breeding.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Those are the two, because they're so big, all they think about is food. I lost my mother early, okay? And what my mother went through as a kid, and now I understand why she would not let me go camping.
Right. Right.
But what I saw as a child, I lied to myself for years, right? I lied and told myself I didn't see what I saw.
Right.
Okay? And then years later, I saw my sister again. I hadn't seen my sister in years, okay? And that was just other reasons. And I asked her about the night that it happened, and she goes, "That wasn't your imagination." She goes, "That was very, very, very much real." And the hopelessness that my mother felt that night, and having to carry that burden, and then, oh my God, in Tahoe, of all places, in Tahoe, there's been a lot of accounts of them. I mean, one of the most famous recordings was just done in 2010 when a couple got, their car, I guess, broke down and they had to pull over on the side of the road for the night.
Right.
And they got so much recordings of them screaming and making all this noise. There was one that was seen on top of the cave rock where you go through the tunnels in Tahoe, Cave Rock.
Right.
That overlooks the water. And then where I was living in State Line, right? That's way up in the mountains. That's 8,400 feet up, right?
Right.
A guy that lived just in back of me had seen one, and he thought it was a black guy at first with a fur coat on, and then he realized, wait a minute, this is hot summer, okay?
Right.
And he goes, he was up in the mountain, he was up across the street in the mountains, and he goes, and he went up that mountain like a billy goat.
Right.
Just
Yeah, they're extremely agile and fast, and I've heard of them going up almost sheer cliffs with a deer.
Oh, yeah, and then my son's friend's uncle was up in Tahoe doing some hunting, right? Because there's a lot of deer up there. Where I was in State Line, there's a lot of bears. a lot of deer, a lot of, everything, all kinds of wildlife. And he was bow hunting, and all of a sudden the deer he was going after was, this Sasquatch ran up on it, grabbed it, broke its neck, and just threw it over its shoulder and walked off.
Wow. Yeah.
And I got my son out of there after him and his friends being paced in the woods, because where we lived was wilderness around. It was like these houses that were built around the woods, the forest,
right
up there. State line is all forest area.
Right.
So if you want, I'll try to do everything in an order for you to understand. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. God. All right. The first was with what my mother went through. Okay. And she told me about this later.
Right.
She told me more about it when she had cancer, was dying. But she begged me to stay out of the woods. She told me there's nothing there that you want. Just please, stay out of there. She was living up in Eureka. Her parents had bought a really nice mobile home. One of those big, like long ones that look metal.
Right.
You know what I'm talking about? I'm in my late 30s, almost. I'm going to be 40. Okay. So, my mom, I guess this would have been in the 50s, I guess, or 40s or 50s, right? My mom grew up in the 50s, so, or late 50s. So, it was one of those long, really nice mobile homes, that, looked like a long metal tank that was really sturdy.
So this is the kind you drive, or the pull, or just like a mobile home as like you see in a trailer park kind of thing, or?
I believe it was the kinds they could pull.
Okay, cool.
With their truck.
I got you.
Yeah.
Yeah, the streamliner type.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
It looked like, my mom said it looked like a, oh God, what do they call those? Zeppelin. She said it looked like a big long Zeppelin.
Okay. All right.
Those really long metal ones that they made.
Well, yeah, I got you. I know what they look like. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my mother's parents went away to go fishing, and my mom was back, in the trailer. Well, her parents were coming back, and they saw a big, tall Sasquatch. I mean, it was, and it was looking in the trailer, and it started rocking the trailer, really hard and shaking it around. My mother was in that trailer, and she was 15. Okay,
wow.
And imagine what her parents were going through. They were sitting there watching this, and
right.
they didn't have a gun on them.
Right.
There was no weapon. Her parents were like, they didn't know what to do, and they were scared to death, and they thought their daughter was going to be killed by this thing. It was, and then it finally just knocked it on its side and walked off.
Right.
And they had to get help, and I remember my mom saying that her parents talked to the forestry people about it, and they kept trying to tell them it was a bear.
Yeah. Like this,
and they were
like you don't know what a bear looks like, I mean, that's so silly. You know what a bear looks like. Are you kidding me? I know, I hate that, but I can see how if you're in the woods and everything's obscured, you might maybe get something mixed up, but I just don't. Not as one standing there rocking the trailer. It's just, nah, that's silly. But go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
I didn't know if you have kids or not, but imagine, you know, as a parent, how helpless you would feel.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
You know, and then the park services, you know, telling my grandparents, you know, and my mother, who was hysterical. I mean, just hysterical. That it was a bear. They were so rude. My mom's, you know, my grandmother said they were just terrible to them. You know, they were really, really, you know, just no help, you know. And I mean, you could see the damage on the vehicle, you know, and my grandfather was telling them, well, look at these footprints.
Right.
And that's when they told him, well, you know, you need to leave. You know, my mother, after that, didn't really like, you know, she was very city-fied after that. Her, you know, after that, it really ruined it for her father, you know, going, you know, I guess, camping or anything like that, or hunting. It really ruined things for their family. They moved to the city. They were living, and oh God, I'm trying to think of where we're in Seattle. They were living in Seattle, but they moved to Vallejo, of all places, California. You know,
Yeah.
they, you know, they wanted nothing to do with the great outdoors.
Right.
And my mother was very, very, very protective. Well, I think my mom, you know, kind of put it out of her head. My grandfather on my dad's side is Blackfoot Indian. He's from Oklahoma.
Right.
Stillwater.
Yeah.
Okay, this is when we get into I mean, my poor mother, I mean, what I saw, but my mom, my God, my mom was talking about this on her deathbed, okay?
Wow.
All right, the second thing, and what a way for a kid. I'll never forget this. All right, my grandfather was having his 55th birthday, and he lived out in Vallejo also. He had worked on Mare Island, you know, on the machines, I guess, on the shipyard and stuff.
Right.
And there was a big birthday party for him, and all his relatives were in Oklahoma. So my dad, being the only boy, you know, put together this, because he had 9 sisters. There was 10 kids.
Yeah.
So he put together a big birthday party for my grandfather. So they all went to Oklahoma, and my mother, I guess, brought me and my 2 older sisters, you know, out there. My mother, I guess, was not enthralled with me out in the outdoors again.
Right.
And we were staying at one of these cabins, okay? And but the lady, there was across from us, not too far away from us, was this older lady, and she was so sweet. And I remember that she used to be outdoors every day, doing laundry by hand, and she'd hang out her laundry, and she'd be doing gardening, and she was just so nice to us, you know. She was so sweet.
And how old were you at this time?
I was 9 years old.
Okay. All right.
I was 9.
Okay. So go ahead.
I remember her front door because we went over there. She, you know, a couple times because she made us cookies.
Right.
You know, we were there for about a week before anything happened, and she told my mom, "Don't have the kids out here once it gets dark." And my mom was like, "Why?" And she goes, "Oh, there's just a lot of animals out here and stuff, and it's, you know, you just, you know." She goes,
Yeah.
"Just don't have them out here." And my mom that probably set off flags for my mom, but she, I didn't say anything to us, but my mother kept an eye on us. My mother always carried a gun, and now I know why.
Yeah.
She literally, Brenton, slept with the gun under her pillow. Okay?
Right.
So one night I was sleeping, and by the way, the lady, her house, she had a really tall front door, okay? I remember her place, a real tall door, and then the top of her door was the stained glass, beautiful stained glass.
Okay.
Okay? I remember, because I thought it was so pretty, I used to love, to look at it. It was really pretty close. I loved going over there because she had these little dogs, and I loved playing with her little dogs. She had, I think they were 2 Pomeranians. Yeah, and I would play with them.
Right.
And so, I was, my mom put us to bed, and I remember being woke up with a hand over my mouth and being told to be quiet.
Okay.
And by the way, we had our German Shepherd with us. My dad got us a dog named Sheba. Sheba was a police dog, and she was too aggressive.
Okay.
This dog was really, really aggressive. I'll never forget my poor mom one Christmas. She wrapped up all our Christmas presents, and the dog, we came home, and all the presents were unwrapped. And my poor mom was crying because, she had to wrap all the stuff, and, we were like, hey, look at our presents. They were all out everywhere. This dog was really aggressive. She attacked the paperboy. You had to keep a big chain on her. She was big, and she was aggressive.
Okay.
And she was in the house. Okay, so my mom had a hand over my mouth, and she said, don't say a word. Be quiet. I'm like, what's going on? She said, just be quiet. And it was all dark in the house. And she had us go into the room that my mom was sleeping in, right? And she had us all get down. And she was peeping out these blinds, okay? Because you could see across to the lady's house.
Okay.
When you looked out the blinds. Do you understand? You could see perfectly.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was this, my mom did not want me looking out, but being a kid and being curious, I peeped out the window. And what I saw, all I can describe is, to me as a kid, was thinking that it looked like a big Frankenstein, hairy Frankenstein.
Wow.
Do you understand?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah.
I couldn't find, a box for it to fit into, your brain.
Right. Yeah.
And I'll never forget, the dog was under my mom's bed. This badass dog peed on the carpet and was under the bed.
Wow.
Shaking.
Goodness.
And I looked at that, and there was this thing looking in, and it was as tall as a stained glass on the lady. It was looking through the glass.
Wow. So this lady had really tall.
And it looked like there was something else, with it next to it. Like now, I guess there was another one.
Okay.
But, they were looking in, looking in and, banging. You could, it was making a lot of noise, banging. And my mom, there was no phone at this place. It was out in the sticks, and my dad wasn't there. I hate to say this, but my dad was out drinking with his friends, and, he wasn't there. And my poor mom was there. And I know my mother always felt so much guilt for not being able to help this woman.
Wow. So
my mother made us get down in the, there was a little basement, you could lift up.
Right.
A cellar-like, do you understand? And my mom made us get down in there, and we had to stay in there until the daylight. My mom put us and the dog down in there, and we kept hearing these noises, and then we heard the lady screaming.
Wow.
And the next day,
okay, take your time. Take your time, Tina.
The next day, the lady's door, the police were there, and the lady's door was, broken down, and she was gone.
Wow. So
there was blood all over the place, and the woman was gone.
So she was totally missing?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how old was this woman? Do you know?
She was probably about 75.
Okay. All right.
But she was in really good shape. Very,
Okay.
Sharp. Sharp as a whip,
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, she'd be out every morning doing her, laundry, doing the gardening,
Right. Right.
playing with us kids. She was so sweet. And my mom didn't know what to do, and I remember her trying to tell my dad, and him telling my mom to shut up and not say anything. Nobody's going to believe them.
Right.
And my grandfather, believing my mother, he was Native American, and he was really upset because he knew this woman.
Right. Was there any? Was there any what year was this? But what year? Around about.
This had around about 1980 probably.
Okay.
Around there.
All right. So there wasn't any good
80?
forensic and DNA stuff like that back then, was there?
No.
Okay.
And, and they put it as somebody broke into her house, and it was just left as a cold case.
Right. Well, to them it was. I mean, they would, they didn't know anything about a Bigfoot, When you all looked, you saw both of them at the door?
Yeah.
Okay. What?
They were looking in. And they were banging. They were making this noise. They started out like this. This is the best I can make. Okay, it went like a siren.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Now was one of them real big and the other one was smaller, or can you tell?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was like one looked like, to the best of my knowledge, like a 9-foot, and the other one.
Hey, you got the dogs going with your call.
And the other one was like maybe 7 foot.
Okay. All right.
And oh my God! And we had the windows cracked, right?
Yeah.
And let me explain this smell. I'll never forget it. Okay, in San Francisco, in Chinatown, right?
Right.
During the summer, they lay out meat on Sundays, right? Pork meat and stuff. They bring in huge, big pigs, dead pigs. It stinks, and the ground in San Francisco is really slick, and you can smell all these dead pigs.
Right.
It's really nasty. It's every Sunday in Chinatown.
Okay.
Okay, and it smelled like sweet, dead, rotted meat.
The Bigfoot did?
You know, that
You're talking about the pigs that did in San Francisco smelled that way?
yeah, and that's
Okay.
what it smelled like coming through our window.
Oh goodness! So you were smelling it and everything. Wow.
Oh my God, they
So
smelled like, oh my
so when
God.
they were making this sound, how many times did they do that?
Oh my God. They every like 10 minutes, and this thing must have had lungs on it like a. I've heard that they have 3 vocal cords. I don't know. Have you heard about that?
Yeah,
They possibly have 3 cords. You know, and they were I guess you know, because they obviously when we went down into the cellar and hid is when they must have went through her door, because it was a big thick oak door.
Right.
You know, it was big and thick and sturdy. So, you know, that door, you know, and the police should have wondered, what can, you know, when you kick in a door, all right, you can kick in going outward, okay? This door was off the hinges and everything, and for something to take it off like that, it had to be Superman strength.
Right. Right.
What did they think did this?
Yeah.
Or they knew and they didn't want to, you know.
Yeah. Right. And you know they very well
and in the
may
news,
have.
all they reported in the news was missing woman.
Wow.
They didn't put all that information in there.
Right. So now you started hearing them make these vocals. Did it make the same vocal each time?
Yeah, it kept doing that, and then it would make some like when we were, you know, being quiet. And I gotta be honest, I was so scared. I lost my vowel, and I'll never. I'm so, you know, I'm telling you this, you know, I lost my vowels, and I had panic attacks, and for the rest of my life, I've had severe panic attacks like that. And when I was a child, I would go grocery shopping with my mom, and I'd turn my back, and she'd be on the other aisle.
Right.
I would have a severe panic attack.
Right.
Because I thought they were going to take me.
Right. Well, we're going to talk about that, okay? I'm going to help you with that. So I'm going to help you get through this, okay? All right.
I never thought I'd have to see these, excuse my expression, Lord forgive me, Jesus. These, I know God creates everything for a reason, but these, you know, the government's hiding this stuff, and you know these are really dangerous. And the thing is, they haven't tried to advance themselves because they don't use tools that we know of.
Right. They use some tools, and they're very capable of doing it, but they lay low. You know? And you know, I think that God didn't create these. In my opinion, I believe that they're Nephilim, and it's a fallen.
You don't either. I thought
think
these
they're Nephilim.
might be Nephilim.
Yes, that's what I think. Some people get upset with that, but the vocal cord system that they have.
I know.
If you think about the description of Lucifer's vocal cords in the Bible, that it talks about his pipes and timbrels, and they were wonderfully made. They were just a magnificent vocal system that Lucifer had. Now, he was an angel. He was a covering cherub, you know, basically an angel. And so if these angels did come down, according to Genesis 6, and they mated, you know, and with the daughters of men, and whatever else they mated with, it ended up producing this creature, then it would have some traits of its father lineage, and I think that's one of the reasons they have these extreme vocal abilities and are able to do certain things that I've been collecting a lot of different evidence of all the different things that they're able to do with sound. And I believe it's similar to in the scriptures when angels smote someone, because there was all kinds of different effects in the different stories in the Bible. Sometimes they were smote with madness or blindness, or and the effects were different in different stories. Sometimes the person was really struggling to try to move, like it was almost paralyzing, or they would make some people forget what happened, similar to the abduction scenarios. Yeah. So there's some people fall asleep, some people just fear.
Well, that's what Dave Paulides was saying, that in his book. Did you notice that? I don't know if you read any. That people wouldn't remember, or
Right. And some people would take their clothes off and fold them. I mean, are you kidding? I mean, there's some information embedded in this sound, And
I always wondered if they did that or these things did that.
No. I've got one story on one of my videos where the guy was hearing growling when he first stopped on his bike. And
yes, I remember hearing about that.
Right.
One.
Yeah, and I think it was on.
He took off all his clothes.
Yeah, and he was folding them, and the sound was growling, but it turned into running water, and it was warm. So.
They also can mimic babbling brooks and stuff, I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I'm telling what all they can do. So that's what my opinion is on it, and some people's opinion aren't that, So I respect that. The people don't have to agree with me, but there seems to be something very, very strange with this vocal system, and the cherubim that was placed at the way, to guard the way to the garden. In Genesis, who guard the way to the tree of life. It says a cherubim and a flaming sword was placed to guard the way, and that flaming sword was enchantment. So it wasn't a sword that cherub was going to smite something with that they came through. It was some type of vocal that. If they got near the tree, he would hit it with some type of enchantment that was verbalized. So to me, I just really believe that there's something more, not saying that the Bigfoot has the full capability that angelic being would have, but I would think if their dads or their ancestor, if these were just, bred on down through the years since Nephilim or whatever, then they would have some traits in their vocal system, and maybe even some knowledge, whether trial and error, or something's teaching them or passing it down, or whatever. But so.
Well, we have a lot to talk about, so I've got a lot of things to tell you.
Well, you keep talking.
I just need 15 minutes real quick, Brenton. I got to take the dog out. He's looking at me like I got to go, and I don't want an accident in the apartment.
Okay. Do you want to take a break for a second?
Well, just let me take him out. Can you give me about 15 minutes?
Yeah, I'll give you 15 minutes, and I'll call you right back. Thank you, Tina.
Please, because there's so much I have to tell you.
I promise you, I will be calling you. I'll call you straight back. Don't worry about that.
Please.
Okay. I will. But I promise you. Okay, I'll talk to you in 15 minutes. Okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Now back down to my mother putting us, underneath the house that night.
Okay.
Like I said, my grandfather was really upset about this because he had known this lady, and she was a friend, and she was a really nice lady, and she didn't deserve to die like this. And I'm sorry, I believe these things are cannibals. You know, I do. I think if they don't have anything else to eat, they'll eat people.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know what you feel about that.
The Native Americans said that they did sometimes. So yeah, I agree.
Oh.
It's very possible. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, LaFleur. There's lots of famous stories of it. My God, they made the Vikings leave. Leif Erikson talks about them when they came over here and they saw them, and they got the heck out of here. Vikings?
Right.
Vikings weren't ones to run from anything, and if they described them as swampy and ugly and smelly.
So you all were down in this cellar, and
yeah, we were down there, and my mom was, just shaking, and I'll never forget looking at it. It looked like, I for years and years tried to tell myself it was just a very tall biker. It was really hairy. I tried to tell myself that.
Right.
I tried to tell myself, because my mom didn't ever want to talk about it, but when she was dying, she sure did.
Right.
My mom died very young from cancer, and she told me, promise me you'll stay away, from the woods. She goes, there's nothing there.
Right.
She goes, what you saw wasn't your imagination.
What color was the fur on or hair on them?
From what we could see, because the lady had a really bright, porch light lit up. It was like one was black, but the other one was a dark auburn.
Okay.
Red.
Now, what like their head? Did they have the?
But the hair.
Did their head have the cone shape, kind of pointy toward the back? It did.
It looked like. It's so silly. That the cone heads on Saturday Night Live. I don't know if you've ever seen them.
Yeah.
They had like a pointed head. It was the most comical. I thought it was a hat. As a kid, I was like, first I thought it was like, what are these people wearing?
Yeah. All right.
What are they? God, I don't know why. These are so tall. And their skin was like, a weird gray. And I'll never forget, we were looking through the blinds and we were so scared because a couple times they looked over our way. And my mom was, and I know she was just like, all she was concerned with was watching what they were doing and making sure they didn't come over where we were at, because all she had was a handgun. Right. A dog that was peeing on himself, and 3 girls.
Right. So did you hear it break the door down?
When we were down in the cellar, we heard a big crash. Do you know what I mean? Like a big boom. It shook everything from where they were at to where we were at. It shook our house.
Right. So was it you standing at the door making these sounds and then finally just broke in?
Yeah, it was at her window, at her door, looking in trying to look in the stained glass, and it was up against it, making all these noises and making these noises. I can't do it like these, clicking like that.
Wow. Goodness. Yeah, that's.
And growl. Oh my God, the growling noises. It was, it was all doing all these weird, and then it sounded like it was trying to communicate to the other one because it was going this weird. It's to me they sound like big oafs.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Right. Yeah.
like that.
Right, yeah.
I hate to say it, but they sounded like mentally handicapped people that were drunk.
Huh. They almost sound,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, they almost sound kind of like, you know, like if a person who can't hear, you know, a deaf person or something.
Yes, like a deaf person. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's very, very bizarre stuff. Wow. So whatever happened when you heard the crash? You all just stayed down there, or?
Yeah, we just stayed down there, and my mom kept all the lights off. And we stayed down there, and, you know, thank God we had that, you know, but we were down under there, and the dog was just whimpering and shaking.
Did your mom ever see them take the woman, or?
No, we didn't see what happened. We just heard her scream one time.
Wow, that's awful. So after that, whatever did you ever see them again? Those particular Sasquatch?
Oh my God, my mom had us out of there. Are you kidding? When my dad came home the next day, the police were all around there. The police showed up like 2 hours later. And I'm sure that lady had a phone. What were they, you know, they were so, I don't know, Oklahoma police are really, you know, it was really far out in the sticks. So maybe they had to, you know, come out far. Do you know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
We were the only two houses out that way.
Okay, so this lady was in there calling the police. Did your mom call the police?
We didn't have a phone.
Oh, okay, that's right.
That place.
Yeah. Okay.
It was my grandfather's, and he wasn't there. He didn't put a phone in because, you know, they moved and they took the phone. You know, they took the phone off. They turned it off because they weren't there. They moved to California.
Okay.
And, you know, just cousins used it once in a while for fishing or, you know, because there was a beautiful lake.
Okay, I got you. All right.
There's a really nice lake around it. And there's a whole bunch of, you know, it's forest, it's still water.
Right. All right.
And my mother slapped my father across the face. She was very angry. And she packed us up, and we went back home. She told my grandfather, I'm sorry, I can't, you know. He was at his daughter's house, staying at one of his daughter's houses.
Right. So then your mother, as a kid, had one shaking the mobile home that she was in, and then later ends up seeing one at a door of the neighbors. So this was...
So my mother hated these things.
Right, I bet. Yeah. Yeah, that's a lot to, you know, go through. And, I mean, it's a lot for you to go through. That's a lot of trauma.
You know, and I know that my mother felt so bad that she couldn't save this woman. You know, the guilt of you not being able to do something for somebody. The guilt I felt as a kid. There was nothing that we could do. We were powerless.
Right.
I mean, the gun my mom had has, what, 6 bullets in it? You know, what is that going to... Saturday Night Special, that's not going
to... No, she would have been risking her. She would have risked you all, and I'm sure that woman wouldn't have wanted you all to be at risk, you know. Being a woman who was 70 or so years old, she would have wanted the children to be okay. I think, and you know, if she had went out there with a gun, it would have just drew the attention, and it wouldn't have
and
killed
another
them.
thing, her dogs were killed. Their heads were popped off.
Yeah, that they do that sometimes for sure. Huh.
You know, and I've heard of this so many times. Why do they just like to kill little animals? Just they don't even eat them. What? They just go around killing things just to kill them?
Well, I think the dogs are, if they're barking and yapping, I think they dispatch the dogs to not have the attention drawn. You know.
Yeah, but I've heard about people having kittens and chicks, baby chicks, and them just popping all the heads off.
Right. Yeah. No, I don't know why they would do that other than to leave a signal for whoever finds it, kind of thing. Yeah. Did this woman possibly, maybe, was she throwing food out? Was she, did she have maybe a rubbish heap or something like that where she was throwing scraps and things like that out? Or these things might have been eating the trash for any period of time?
I don't know. We were only there a week, and to be honest, I mean, her place is really nice and neat, you know, around there, but, that's a good question. I don't honestly know how she, you know, was getting rid of her trash. Because she was way out there, so she probably had to haul her trash or have somebody come haul her trash to the dump.
Right. Well, sometimes people
way out there.
Yeah, sometimes people have their own little dump if they've got, any land at all when they live out in the country. I know when I lived in Texas, we had a little holler, we threw the trash in, and every once in a while you'd get a bulldozer, you'd cover it. So I'm kind of wondering if they were eating something. Did you ever remember like maybe a deep freeze outside on a porch or any type of thing?
Yeah, she did have a freezer, a big long freezer.
And it was outside?
Yeah.
Okay.
One of those real long ones, because my grandmother had one. I remember because she had the same kind that my grandmother had, right. And she had given my mom some venison.
Oh,
bread.
Okay. Did she ever, in the week that you were there, or the few weeks you were there, did she ever say anything about anything coming up missing from that freezer?
She just said to my mom, you really got to watch your stuff around here. She did say you really need to watch your things. And she told her to watch the dog, and to keep the kids and the dog in the house at night.
Oh, wow. So maybe she knew something then.
Maybe she was, she didn't want to say anything just yet because, we were only going to be there, we were going to be there 2 weeks.
Okay. So either she thought maybe that there was a thief stealing stuff, or...
Now, there is one incident I was going to tell you that when my sisters thought they were mice or something, but it was really creepy, and it kept happening. And now it makes sense to me. When we were all sleeping, me and my sisters in the back bedroom, right? We had bunk beds in the back.
Yeah.
And at night, we would hear on the outside of the wall scratching. Like nails, like scratching.
Right.
All on the wall out there.
Okay.
And then there would be like, it looked like a person was walking by the window. It would black out.
Right.
And And my sister would go, "Oh, it's just probably," and my sister would go, "It's just probably somebody going for a walk." And I'd be like, "Who would be going for a walk out here in the boondocks, this time of the night?"
Right.
One night, it got really bad, the scratching noises. I got so scared, I ran and got in bed with my mom.
Huh.
I was the baby, so I was my mom. I was the closest to my mom also. I was her,
Right.
She was my best friend. So I was her baby girl. So I was like, "Mama, there's some scratching." And she goes, "Well, then probably a rat or raccoons, honey."
Do you remember?
Yeah, but the way it sounded like they were coming from the top of the, coming all the way down, like it would start at the top and scratch all the way down the wall out there. I would be so scared, Brett. I would be so scared. I would put the blankets over me and would be shaking, and because I was so scared, it would I would pass out. Do you understand? I would fall asleep because I was so scared.
Right.
There was scratching, and it would start from the top of the wall. What raccoon can scratch from the top and go all the way down,
Right. Well, I don't think it was raccoon. I think if you had something walking by the windows and scratching, that's typical of, the Sasquatch, Bigfoot stuff. Now, after this lady disappeared and the cops came and all that kind of stuff, do you remember if there was anything, if you ever heard, if there was anything left in that freezer out on her porch?
No, I don't, but I just remembered something. Oh my God, I forgot to tell you. This is the really one thing that she said that was really creepy. My mom thought, "God, that's a little weird." She told my mother, "Are your girls," she asked her, "are any of your girls, matured and, become young ladies?" And my sisters had already, I was a lot younger. And she said, "Well, if they start their menstrual cycle, do not let them leave their, lady things outside."
Okay.
In the trash.
Right, yeah. So this woman knew something then.
And that's when one of my sisters was on her cycle. And my mom said, "Well, one of my daughters had already put it out, some of them out, there." And she goes, "Oh, no." And my mom thought she was a little weird after that, She just didn't, she goes, "You've got to get that and put it back in the house." My mom was like, "I'm not going to put it back in the house." She goes, "You don't understand." And my mom was like, well, explain to me. She goes, "Is there bears? Is it, is there, what is it, or does it draw in more animals or wolves?" Or, my mom didn't know.
Right, yeah.
And she goes, "Believe me," she told my mom, "you don't want to, have that." And after that is when we started getting the scratching on the wall.
Wow. Okay, so there seems to have been, okay, so that was drawing them in for that, and I think maybe even I think that...
after that, my mom told my sisters just to, not to be gross, but they were not napkins, they were the other lady tampons, just to flush them,
Yeah, right. I think maybe that plus I really believe that freezer. I think she was having stuff coming up missing from her freezer, and I don't know if she was maybe. You would think that she would put that together. Did she padlock the freezer? Do you remember?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think she was having some stuff stolen from that freezer. When she padlocked it, I think it ticked them off. That's what I believe happened. That was not your fault. That was not your mother's fault. That was not that woman's fault. She didn't know what else to do. I think they got used to getting that food. And I know people that feed them and they continue feeding, giving even candy bars and things like that, something that they wouldn't be able to get, you know. And then when they stop, these things throw temper tantrums, or sometimes they move.
Apples. Okay, and like she grew a whole bunch of vegetables and stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And all her old vegetables, when we were over there, cause we hung out, that whole week playing over there. And, I wanted to help because I always like to help, Mm-hmm. And one day she was really in a bad mood, and she goes, she didn't say damn it, she said blam it. She goes, blam it. She goes, I wish they'd stay out of my sweet feed.
Okay, yeah, they were eating.
Blam it like that, and she was getting really mad, but she was throwing out. Then after that, she threw out a whole bunch of apples, and I guess there was some vegetables that weren't, that were going kind of bad in her garden or something, and she threw those over, like out into the field area. She threw some apples, a whole bunch. She took a bag of apples and opened it up and threw all these apples out, and then I thought she was just feeding, like, the raccoons and stuff.
Mm-mm. No.
If I was a little kid, I would have fed, animals.
I think, man, that's what caused it. They were getting all this free food. Probably, I think they were even hitting that freezer, and she padlocked the freezer. And at some point, they didn't have nothing.
Well, I know.
Now, what time of year was this? Was the garden time
summer.
over? Okay, so the garden wasn't over yet.
Summer.
Okay.
This is in July.
They came to that house wanting some more food. There wasn't nothing ready at that time, or nothing they wanted from the garden. And she hadn't thrown anything out, is what I think.
Well, she was real mad. Because, she had horses. She used to let us ride the horses.
Hmm.
And she was really mad that day. I guess her sweet beef, had been, taken.
Okay.
And I didn't know, I thought maybe some burglars or raccoons, I'm a city kid.
Okay. Did she had horses? How many horses did she have? Do you remember?
Oh, she had 4. They were beautiful.
Were they mares or all?
She had 3 mares and 1 beautiful stallion. Oh God, he was beautiful. She had a stallion, beautiful black stallion, and then she had 4 Chesapeake, I guess they're called, the brown ones.
Right. Did she have a donkey?
And she had a goat.
Goat. Okay.
Instead, she didn't have a donkey. I've heard donkeys now are better. She had a goat that says that the horses love.
Yeah, the donkeys will defend against predators.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That they'll defend those horses till the end.
Yeah. That may have helped her. Wow, that is very tragic.
She got her. I know she got her venison. Her son would hunt and bring it to her. But her son was a trucker or something, so he I guess only got to come by there like once or twice a month. He could visit her, or stay like with her for a week or something.
Right.
He wasn't married.
Yeah.
And she said he would come stay with her. And when he went hunting, he would, bring his mom back venison.
So when these Sasquatch were there on the porch, did they seem mad to you?
Oh, yes. Yes, they were like looking all in, and they were banging, like pounding their fists and making all this noise.
Yeah, that I believe that was over food. I really do. I think that was over food. So God bless your mother, and I am so sad that she felt responsible. But it was not your fault. It was not her fault. There was nothing, and I guarantee you that woman wouldn't have want her to put you children at risk. So you need not let that haunt you. That was something unfortunate that this woman didn't know that was going to cause something like that. So you need to forgive yourself here, and we'll talk after we're done recording a little bit too, okay?
Yeah.
And
Why would they kill her though? If she was so kind to them, why would they kill? Did they not understand that people run out of food, or?
Well, they were getting some treats there, I believe, and I really think that she padlocked that freezer after she was saying, because if she was saying stuff about things coming up missing, you need to watch your stuff around here. And she's even bringing up stuff about you all's cycles and things. I think she was having some issues with her horses.
My mom thought that was a little kooky. You gotta admit.
Yeah, I mean, who would know what to think about that? But I think she was having some issues with her horses. I don't know how long she had lived there, but I think she was also
a long time, because my grandfather had known this woman, before he moved to California. So I think my grandfather had known. Her name was Sadie. She was a really nice, lady. My grandfather said he'd known her since he was like 20 years old.
So did your grandfather ever talk about Bigfoot stuff?
Oh, yeah. My grandfather was black, like I said, Blackfoot Indian. And my dad got mad because my grandfather said, I heard them whispering. They didn't want his kids to hear, but he goes, I know it was those boogers, he called them.
Okay, yeah.
Because I know it was those damn boogers. And he was, my grandfather was very upset. I haven't seen my grandfather cry, too many times. My grandfather wasn't ashamed of showing emotion, but that really upset him.
Right.
And it upset him that he couldn't bury her.
Right.
Indians are very into giving proper burial, and it really upset him.
Right. Well, yeah, I imagine.
To be honest, after that happened, by the way, my grandfather didn't want nothing to do with that property, and they sold it. They said it was bad. I remember them saying it was bad. It was bad karma on that land, and they just sold it.